Fallout continues for the Houston Police Department and the scandal over suspended investigations. Today marks 3 weeks since Chief Troy Finner told Houstonians that a number of sexual assault investigations were suspended because of a lack of manpower. Well, the number increased to more than 200,000 cases, and other types of cases were also added to that list.
During their review of the reports, police say they have visited victims in nearly 700 cases, many ranging from burglaries and shoplifting to aggravated assaults and sex crimes. So joining us right now to go over these details that were revealed just yesterday is Director of Victim Services at Crimestoppers Houston, Andy Kahan, and Rhonda Kuykendall. Thank you so much, you guys, for joining us, and tell us what the biggest takeaway for you was from Chief Finner's response.
Well, from our perspective at Crimestoppers, I mean, first of all, we were just absolutely stunned and we were floored, specifically for victims and especially of sexual assault, which are it's just frankly the most underreported crime of any of the crimes that you can imagine. And for victims of sexual assault to actually come forward, to bravely, put themselves out there, to go through a variety of tests, submit statements and give evidence, and then just to find out that everything was just put, dormant and basically just shelved away. That's just got to be absolutely maddening and frustrating. And then years later, you find out that no one was even working the case. There's just a lot of questions right now. And the bigger question is, now that we know that this is going on, how on earth are you going to actually be able to investigate all these cases that have been sitting there for years and years and years,
right,
and actually get the perpetrator to justice? So a lot of questions, a lot of answers that you have to become.
Yeah, absolutely. Our other guest this morning is Rhonda Kuykendall. Thank you so much for waking up with us this morning. I know Andy Kahan is over victim services at Crimestoppers. You actually are a victim of these crimes. I'm hoping maybe you can weigh in. Was yours one of the cases that were suspended?
Mine is not one of the cases that is suspended, but I'm also trained by the Attorney General's office to be a SANE advocate. So I'm with those victims as they are going through and navigating the sexual assault nurse examiner process, which is really, really hard. Texas ranked second in the most reported cases of rapes. In 2023, there were 16,510 sexual assaults that were reported. Of that number, only 1,769 arrests occurred. And the reason is because we know that law enforcement are the gatekeepers as to what happens. If you think about it, so much hinges upon what happens when that law enforcement arrives on the scene and taking that first report. How do they view the victim? What is she wearing? Does she have tattoos? Does she fight back? So when a victim does not fit the stereotypical what a victim should look like, we have problems where these cases are not going forward. And it's because law enforcement does not understand that scientific evidence proves that there are gaps in victims' memories. There are core memories that they're going to remember and peripheral memories. They may not remember what the assailant was wearing when they were raped because the body has a way of trying to protect itself. The really sad fact, though, is in 2019, Texas passed HB 8, which was a tremendous bill. It was championed by my friend Lavinia Masters, and it required that law enforcement collects all of these kits within 7 to 14 days. And then the crime labs have to test the kits within 90 days. One thing that's very important to note also is that it mandated that law enforcement tell Texas how many sexual assault kits are out there and how many of them are backlogged, what are new and what are old. I can tell you that was 2019. As of today, there are over 200 law enforcement agencies that have not even complied with the inventory requirements. So that means that we don't really know where we stand with this issue across the state of Texas, not only in Houston. And by the way, one of those law enforcement agencies that did not comply with the mandatory inventory was the Houston Police Department.
Yeah, I mean, with this news, that's completely not surprising. I mean, just another observation in all of this, Andy and Rhonda, is, as journalists, whenever you get phone calls from victims about sexual assault crimes or sexual crimes, it's very difficult to investigate or hold police accountable because of the discreet and private nature of these crimes. I mean, we know that police officers aren't usually talking to you openly about details of any open case, but especially about sexual assault cases, which makes it difficult to, you know, like, were they telling victims at the outset from the first report, like, or not telling them, but at that moment they're just putting suspended and pushing it to the side? Or did anybody actually get a rape kit and then it's suspended? Do we know at what point they just said, we can't do anything with this case?
We know
one of the things, go ahead, Rhonda.
Go ahead, Andy. We know in this case, though, the victim did do a rape kit. So, and then it sat for a year, and then that perpetrator sexually assaulted another person. So in this case, it is exactly what is happening.
Yeah, absolutely. Andy Kahan, Rhonda Kuykendall, thank you so much for waking up with us this morning.
You bet.